now we turn to our final award, the first Lifetime Achievement Award for a plaintiff attorney. The award goes to Phil Corboy. Unfortunately, Phil couldn't be here with us tonight. We are very gracious to have and glad to have Dan Coton to speak on his behalf.
Do we have that other thing? You'll hit it. Yeah, go back.
Can we leave it there?
No, go back to it. We'll come back to it in a minute. Okay.
When you want it, just push that side.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. I know I'm the last person you wanted to hear from tonight, but Phil Corboy, he's not feeling up to being here tonight. I had lunch with him on Thursday, and we talked about this award, and he was thrilled, and he's honored, and he's very grateful to get the award, but getting all the way over here is a little bit tricky for him right now, so I'm here in his stead. I think that everybody on both sides of the bar would agree that Corboy is the father of tort law, the father of civil trial practice, certainly in Chicago and probably to a large part nationwide. He's been practicing since 1949, but he wasn't the first. I mean, there were people before him. His one and only boss, Jim Dooley, was around before Corboy. But everybody will probably agree that Corboy took this area of practice, tort law, personal injury tort law, and carried it to a new level that it had never been at before, and I think we're all benefiting from it even today. Over the years, people have asked me what it is that made Corboy Corboy. How did he have the success that he had? And there's probably a few different reasons that he became who he was. Obviously, a great trial lawyer, tremendous skills, and he could really turn a jury, and those jury verdicts obviously lead to your reputation to a certain degree. Tireless work ethic. He is one person that absolutely devoted his life, 100%, day and night, to this area of law, and I don't think anybody before him, maybe not anybody since him, has ever dedicated himself to the practice like Corboy did, and that shows in the results. He's a person that treated everybody, every client in his firm equally. The little guy with the small case, the serious injury case, everybody thought they were the most important case in the firm, and that helps your reputation. But I think one thing that people don't necessarily remember is the fact that Corboy had the ability to communicate his successes and his achievements and his abilities beyond the confines of the small little cadre of referring attorneys. Because back in that day, the only people that knew who a personal injury lawyer was were the other lawyers that would send cases. And Corboy managed to develop a reputation as a trial lawyer in the mainstream public, in the general public, using the mainstream media. And that's something that has really carried on and sort of made him what he is. Now, before newspapers and television had any interest in who Phil Corboy was or whether there was some big personal injury verdict, there was something called the Cook County Jury Verdict Reporter. And it was a publication put together by Max Sonderby, and I think Sonderby owned it until the Law Bulletin purchased it about 20 years ago. And it was through Sonderby's work in the Jury Verdict Reporter that Corboy really developed a name for himself. Now, some people here may know that Phil Corboy is my uncle. And it was Corboy who introduced his sister, my mother, to Larry Coton, who was another young plaintiff's trial lawyer. And the two of them got together, and here I am. But Corboy was moving out of Jim Dooley's office in 1952 to start his own firm. My dad had just graduated law school, and he was moving in to take over. And they met each other, one was leaving, the other was moving in. They met each other that day, they became friends, and they were friends ever since. But I remember as a young kid back in the 70s, the Cook County Jury Verdict Reporter would show up in the mail once a week. And for those of you that weren't around back then, the verdict reporter looked then a lot like it looks now. The format was the same, where they detailed the verdict with the plaintiff's lawyer, the defense lawyer, the judge, and then a narrative. But back then, Max Sonderby stapled to the last page of the Jury Verdict Reporter a little typewritten memo called Relevant Ramblings. And in that, he would detail whatever was going on in the trial bar for that particular week, the news, the gossip, whatever. It's sort of like what we see on page 3 of the Law Bulletin now, in those little briefs. But I thought when I was asked to accept this award for Phil, that I would go back to the scrapbooks and look at some of those old relevant ramblings and see if I could find some really dated comments about Corboy that might be appropriate for a JVR award. And I found dozens of them, but there's one that, for obvious reasons, to me meant a lot, and I thought I would share it here. I don't know if you can read it, okay? But this would come out, and the top of it is cut off, but the heading was the Cook County Jury Verdict Reporter, and the date of this one was February 6th of 1969. And up there on the top it says, Attorney Larry Coaten, after 4 days before Judge Wosick, settled a case for $15,000. And if you read down, Coaten tried the case for Phil Corboy, who was busy on a bench trial before federal Judge Parsons, and he wound up with a $161,800 verdict. And you go down a little bit further, Philip Corboy, who is really the bright star on the settlement sky this month, obtained $175,000 for a deep-sea diver. And then at the bottom, Corboy, a $60,000 settlement, and then a $161,000 settlement. That's all Corboy in one particular week back in 1969, which looks like a hell of a good week to me. But I have a prop here. Those numbers are kind of humorous in today's dollars, right? Particularly when I look at last Wednesday's law bulletin, and we see a headline of a $36 million settlement on page 1, and then down on the bottom of the page 1 is a $12 million med-mal settlement. And I'll tell you, Phil Corboy had nothing to do with either of those settlements. But I would venture to guess that everybody involved in both of those cases would probably agree that it was the work of Phil Corboy, starting in 1949 and continuing in 69 and then up until recent years, that laid the groundwork for what all of us are doing today. And I think we all owe him a great deal of gratitude for that. So with that being said, thank you for this award on behalf of Phil Corboy. He's received a lot of big awards in his lifetime. But coming from the Jury Verdict Reporter, a publication that has been with him since the beginning, and a publication which to a large part is responsible for all he's accomplished in terms of people knowing what he's doing, this award really means a great deal. So thanks very much.